Hello, everybody. It is Saturday. I recorded a live earlier. I gave you a preview, but Facebook ate the saved version. So we're just going to do side two of Lenny Dee, Dee Most. Lenny Dee, of course, comes from an era of when you could just play one instrument, something unusual, the harmonica, the banjo, the accordion, the swinging hi-fi organ. It's a hi-fi organ. These are hi-fi organ solos with a beat. Bongos. That was another one. I actually have a bongo record that we may listen to at some point in the future. I'm going to get this started, and then we'll talk a little bit about the record itself, and then if I have time, I'll fold some laundry. So, now, Lenny Dee, there are other. There's a guy named Woody Martins that you should Google. There's probably actually free downloads out there because it's presumably public domain by this point. This one is "Oh You Beautiful Doll." Apologies if you watched the earlier the earlier one. I'm going to read the persuasive essay that was de rigueur for records of this era. That was back when advertising involved not just images, but an essay on the back of an album. The previous albums by Lenny Dee have been appropriately, if punningly, entitled Delightful, Delirious, Delicious, and now, as a natural climax, Dee Most! Here again is another proof that Lenny Dee can do anything he likes with the organ. It's so suggestive. He can make it croon and cry, pulse and pound, swing and sway, murmur and sigh, yodel for joy, jump and shout with wild excitement. Who yodels for joy? Never has the organ responded to such a wide range of surprises. Although Lenny Dee is an expert at the organ, he did not begin as an organist. At 7, he played the banjo. A little later, he performed on the piano accordion, an instrument that I never knew existed. It was not until he got out of the Navy that he enrolled at the Conservatory of Chicago. There, on a GI Bill, that's why we had to beat the enemy, so Lenny Dee could learn the organ. He took his first lessons at the organ. Suddenly, he knew that he had found his true instrument. He began to appear professionally and soon was booked at some of the most prominent hotels in the South. His reputation spread rapidly. He was heard on a weekly network. He played an engagement at Nashville's Plantation Club. He signed a contract with Decca Records, which gave him national publicity. This sounds like the bio sheet for a lot of guys I used to open with on the road. In these recordings, Lenny Dee plays several of his most requested numbers and plays them in a manner which is different from any other performer's. His style is distinctly his own, one which merits the definite title, Dee Most. Also, let's talk about this cover. Apologies for the shadows here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Lenny is dressed as a conductor? Member of the French Foreign Legion? Not sure. I'm not sure what he's actually holding in his comically oversized Mickey Mouse / soccer goalie or keeper gloves. It looks more like a giant boombox than an organ. This little line that is swirling off from him, it was not made in pen by somebody who owned the album. It's actually part of the printing, and I have no idea what it is supposed to signify. Oh, I see. On top of his head, or behind him in the background, is an organ, and then this is him twiddling the knobs on the mixer. I genuinely don't know. This, by the way, is Indian Love Call. This side actually has a couple of problematically named songs. This is Indian Love Call, and then the last one will be China Boy, Go to Sleep. And then next we'll hear Aint She Sweet. Then Yodelin Organ, Let Me Call You Sweetheart, I'm in Love with You. That's one song. And China Boy, Go to Sleep. All right, let's fold some laundry. We'll chat a little bit as we go. Again, I may make other observations that I made earlier. I'm going to stop apologizing for that. You don't need to see behind the curtain. Right? This did provoke a memory of when like people of my generation and older remember music stores. Specifically, there we go. I mean, you better know this song. It's Aint She Sweet. And in her direction, oh me, oh my, ain't that perfection, Vodio-do. Aint She Sweet it's got a real Shakey's Pizza quality to it. I'm sure that Shakey's Pizza, by the way, for pre-Gen X people or post-Gen X people, was a pizza place. Still is, probably in like 3 markets. But they often would have live music. Sometimes they would have a projector on which they would show old-time comedies, like usually the Three Stooges, but I think every once in a while you would get perhaps a Tony or manager that would get a hold of perhaps some Laurel and Hardy or Chaplin, maybe Harold Lloyd. I don't know. My memories of it are dim. Generation X, I'm 50 this year, I am 50, and my generation was on the tail end of a lot of those things, which I imagine every generation is on the tail end of something. My generation, though, was on the tail end, it seems like, of a lot of things that went the way, like, investment in public education. There was a lot of that for Generation X. You could tell it was on the wane, but we were still getting baby boomer leftovers. Hi, boomers. Which one's this one? Yodelin Organ. Yodelin for joy, I'll bet. You know that the copywriter who did this probably had to submit this perhaps to Lenny himself, perhaps to some editor, some executive at Decca who had said the wrong thing to a manager and wound up getting the Lenny Dee account, or perhaps who had gone to the mat for Lenny Dee, was his A&R guy for the previous 3 Lenny Dee albums. This is the 4th Lenny Dee album. But why not? Why wouldn't you want 4 albums of this? If I could have swingin' hi-fi organ music on a loop, I think I would. Oh, but as I was saying, because they mentioned Yodeling for Joy, and I'm betting that the A&R guy's boss or whoever was over the person who wrote this said, okay, so, all right, let's see, we got, probably had a cigarette. Let's see, we got, I like croon and cry, got the C sound, the K sound. Pulse and pound, I like your alliteration, kid. Swing and sway, more alliteration, not too bad. I'm getting a little tired of it, but see, murmur and sigh. You knew exactly when I was going to be tired of alliteration. Yodel for joy. No, except he would have gone for jump for joy. He would have said jump for joy. You're back to the alliteration. We need to switch it to yodel. And then he made Lenny find a song with yodeling in the title. I don't know. All of these things. If there was a third sound, or third album, or third side to this album, when Facebook eats this version, you should have heard the earlier version. Fantastic. Oh, I know this one. Yes, let me call you sweetheart. See, this was probably a song sung by guys in boaters, like boater hats, straw hats, probably at a Shakey's. I'm a little disappointed that side 2 is a little more mellow. It's the mellower side of Lenny Dee. But yeah, this one, he's dejected. Should have heard side 1. It was so great. This is more of the kind of the outside of the music store. That's what I was getting into. Was music stores in malls. There would be people who would play the organ outside music stores to try to get people to buy organs, home organs. Like it was I assume probably an affordable and more portable alternative to pianos, and certainly much less persnickety, because I don't know if you've ever looked into moving a piano. Like we had a neighbor who had a piano in their basement. And were willing to part with it because they needed to declutter a little bit. And then we looked into what's involved in moving a piano. And it's insane. Also, where are you going to put a piano? There we go. And this one is, I believe, China Boy, Go to Sleep. Not exactly a lullaby. What we just heard there, that little da 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 da, is very standard swinging hi-fi organ filler. The other thing to remember about hi-fi organ players, they hate silence. They have to fill every second. Who's this? Excuse me. I know, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that's not actually a bass sax. Is that a thing? That was the setting that the guy outside the music store, or the gal outside the music store, would turn on when they really wanted to close the deal. Oh, look. And it's marked, there were always these little keys on those organs. Wurlitzers, maybe? That would be like sax, trumpet, and they sounded vaguely like those instruments, but that sounded kind of like a yeah. That I'm going to flip this over so we can hear one of the sides. So apologies for the here. Look at. Don't look at my butt. Look at Lenny Dee. Ooh, you're gonna get a close up of Lenny Dee's eye as I flip this album. By the way, I think Lenny had a glass eye. If you look at his right eye, I think that's a glass eye. Which is very funny because last night we were actually watching an Alfred Hitchcock Presents that was called The Glass Eye. Featured William Shatner, who was supposedly English. Jessica Tandy, also kind of English. This one is jumping on the organ. Something that Lenny Dee's kids were not allowed to do, I imagine. I wonder if Lenny Dee ever settled down and had a family, though. He's clearly married to the organ. That's the other one of the go-tos we just did with da 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 da, and that's what they used to fill the silences. The unbearable silences that no hi-fi organ player can bear. Service, you're the boss, the king, the Shah. It's your tradition, a little more baklava. Now, obviously, there is a drum player on this, but I don't think the drummer is even credited on this. Maybe there's a bass player. It's remarkably light on details about other personnel. Oh, by the way, if you've enjoyed this recording, you're sure to like these other long play albums by Lenny Dee. Again, these are delicious, delirious, and delightful. This is Avalon, which was later, of course, covered by Brian Ferry. 3 of you got that. That's a pretty high estimate. All right, kids. Well, I think this is a good song to go out on. Thanks very much for watching, either live or later, assuming Facebook doesn't eat this recording. And we'll see you next week. I'm going to give you a quick preview. As you know, Minneapolis is hosting the Super Bowl. The week's events just started kicking off, and next week's album, Carnival 1975, because that's going to be the environment we're going to be living in all week long. Take care.